afternoon or evening to all our viewers from around the world. I'm Kapila Ireland, editor of DFNI. Thank you for joining us for the first virtual DFNI Cruise Seminar. As you might know, DFNI for the past 2 years has championed cruise retail with the only conference dedicated to the channel, with events in Miami last year and in Rome in 2018. Our physical events are known for our strong speaker lineups, and this year's digital event is no different, with leading players from the industry joining us today. We'll hear from our host partner, Starboard Cruise Services, and retail concessionaires Dufry Cruise Services and Harding Retail, Cruise Line MSC, and our long-standing research partner Mindset. The cruise retail channel has really borne the brunt of the crisis, and today's discussions will take a look at what can be considered a luxury cruise experience in today's climate, how cruise guest shopping habits have changed, and how retailers and brands can adapt to the challenges ahead. In fact, as of this morning, we had over 450 delegates signed up for this seminar today, signalling the real interest and importance to this channel. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank our partners, headline sponsor Starboard, and supporting partners Mindset, Foreo, and Coeur de Lion. This is an interactive event, and throughout the live presentations, you'll have the opportunity to ask our speakers any questions you may have via the Slido app, which you can do on the screen to the right. So to start us off, I have prepared a brief presentation, which I hope will give you a picture of where the cruise travel retail industry is at today. So to set the scene for today's seminar, I'd like to give you a quick update on the state of the cruise industry as it was in 2019 and the predictions and trends for 2020 before COVID struck. Using data and insights kindly provided to DFNI by Cruise Lines International Association, or CLIA. We'll also look at the industry's global economic impact before the crisis and the impact of suspensions, and finally highlights from CLIA's latest research looking at the future of cruise. So looking back at the forecast for 2020 from CLIA, the outlook was very rosy. 32 million passengers were expected to cruise in 2020, 278 ships were projected to be in operation, and 19 new ships were set to launch this year. So as you can see, the 2020 passenger capacity snapshot shows a steady rise. The industry's global economic impact is significant. According to 2018 figures, the cruise industry around the world generates over 150 billion in economic activity every year. But since COVID-19 was declared a pandemic in March, as we saw in headlines around the world and in DFNI, the cruise industry came to a standstill. Globally, each day that operations are suspended results in the loss of more than 2,500 jobs, and every 1% drop in cruising results in 2,000 jobs lost. In July, the CDC extended its no-sail order for cruise ships through to September, but at the end of the last month, the CDC announced a framework for relaunching the region's cruise business. The new framework lays out a phased approach of actions for cruise operators to restart. They must show they are following testing, quarantine, isolation, and social distancing guidelines while they build lab capacity needed to test crews and passengers once sailings resume. Once this is complete, mock voyages will be carried out with volunteers playing the role of passengers before ships can be certified and allowed to return to passenger travel. Now, cruise lines are preparing to sail again, although, as we know, members of CLIA have committed to a voluntary suspension of US cruise operations until the end of the year in order to implement the health and safety requirements. But interestingly, when Royal Caribbean said it would need volunteers for its test cruises last week, there was a flurry of interest. The cruise line received over 3,000 emails from travel agents, consumers, and repeat cruisers who were all interested in signing up as a volunteer, showing that passenger demand is there. CLIA recently conducted research on cruise sentiment perception and interest from a travel point of view. I'm just going to highlight some of the headlines, but stay tuned as travel retail research experts Mindset are going to reveal the results of a bespoke study on shopping intentions and behaviour post-C19 of cruise guests. So back to CLIA's study, it found that cruisers are loyal. Around 75% cruisers still want to cruise compared to 80% pre-COVID, and 55% of non-cruisers are still likely to continue to cruise. We also find that they're likely to take a cruise in the next 2 years. Around 77% said that they were very likely to do so. Cruises are also ready to go. As you can see, as of June 2020, 1 out of 3 cruisers is likely to cruise again and would cruise within the next 6 months. And most likely, cruises to be selected are traditional 7 to 10 day cruise options with multiple destinations, but they also looking at short cruises with limited port calls for the initial resumption of operations. Now, cruisers are not waiting for a vaccine before committing to cruises, they said, but they do want to feel safe. And here are some outline figures of what they want to see from cruise lines in terms of safety measures. So these measures that cruisers are expecting are fully aligned with what cruise lines are now implementing, says the CLIA. But many of these protocols are existing processes that cruise lines already had in place prior to COVID-19. Now, finally, the headlines have been much more upbeat over the last few weeks, as you can see, with news of the first cruises to embark since the suspension, investment in cruise retail business, and continued innovation, all of which our speakers today will discuss in more detail.